One type of suffering are the symptoms of the disease. The second type of suffering is the disease. Symptoms of a disease we have all experienced. We all know how painful symptoms of a disease are. Yes or no? Yes. But does everyone know the ins and outs of a disease? No. This is why we go looking for whom? A doctor. A doctor who has gone through his study, 5 years worth of medical college, and then whatever exams that follow up, and then practicing, and then he understands the science behind this. When you go in front of the doctor and say, it hurts, he says, yeah, okay, I get it, but that's not why you're here, is it? We've got to treat the disease. The suffering that the Buddha speaks of is the suffering or the disease that the doctor gave the prescription for. The suffering that we just talked about 10 minutes ago, death, disease, old age, decay, frustration, lamentation, sorrow, despair, losing things that we like, having to associate with people and things that we don't like, these are diseases or symptoms? These are all symptoms. Each and every one of them is a symptom. Avidya pacca sankhara, sankhara pacca vijnana, vijnana pacca namarupa, namarupa pacca salayatana, salayatana pacca passa, passa pacca vedana, vedana pacca tanha, tanha pacca upadana, upadana pacca bhava, bhava pacca jati, jati pacca jara marana shoka parideva dukkha domanasa eva metassa kevalassa dukkha khandassa samudaya hoti. Avidya to jati, disease. Jati pacca jara marana shoka parideva dukkha domanasa, symptoms. Did you get it? Avidya to jati, disease. Jati pacca jara marana shoka parideva dukkha domanasa eva metassa kevalassa dukkha khandassa samudaya hoti, symptoms. Tell me, all your life, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, which one of these two have you been treating? Disease or symptom? How long did that man have to continue? Does that man have to continue taking the paracetamol tablets? For? Ever. How long does this man have to take this griping water? How long has he got to apply that lotion on his body? For? Ever. What happens if he stops taking them? Symptoms resurface. Now go back to the hospital, cancer hospital, man on bed, struggling for his life. Doctor has said, death tomorrow. Is he suffering from the disease? Is he complaining about the disease or the symptom? Is he complaining about the disease or the symptom? Symptom. Why? Jati pacca, jara, marana, shoka, parideva. Jara is disease or decay. Marana, death. What's he complaining about? Death. Death is what? Disease or symptom? Symptom. He's complaining about the symptoms. What about next door guy who said he was a Christian? He's crying his eyes out because he's lost his mother. What's he crying about? Disease or the symptom? Every time in your life so far, every time you shed tears, every time you got angry, every time you wept, did you cry because of the disease or the symptoms? Your child broke a leg. Child starts crying. Now you start crying. Are you crying because of the disease or the symptom? Symptom. You have to go to work. You don't like it? You're complaining. Disease or symptom? Disease or symptom? Symptom. You try to start your car. Car doesn't start. Broken down. Disease or symptom? If you're suffering because of that. Disease or symptom? Symptom. You got a runny nose. Really annoying, isn't it? When you have a runny nose and it's gone all sore and red like a parrot's. Now you're complaining. of the disease or symptom? Symptom. Do you realize, ladies and gentlemen, that all your life you've been trying to fix symptoms? You're hungry. Disease or symptom? Symptom. You're feeling cold, shivering. Disease or symptom? You got a fever. Disease or symptom? Symptom. You've just been bit by a mosquito. Disease or symptom? Symptom. What does science help you do? Treat the disease or treat the symptoms? Science and technology which you have sought refuge in. What does it help you treat? The disease or the symptom? Symptom. Why did you go to school? To learn to treat what? The disease or the symptom? The symptoms. Why did you go to university? Do you realize where this is going? Why did you start to do a job? To earn money, so you can buy all the things you like. What do you mean by that? Buy all the things you like. Because when you buy all the things you like, you don't have the problem that this lady spoke of before. What is that? Not having the things you don't like. When you can buy what you like, now, you don't have to suffer from not having the things you don't like. Again, are you treating the disease or the symptom? Symptom. How long must you treat the symptom before the disease is treated? How long can you treat the symptom and expect the disease to be treated as a result? How long? Never. Never, ever, ever can you treat the symptoms and expect the disease to be gone, because if the disease is a bacterium that's gone into your body, the only thing that can treat that is an antibiotic. Not a paracetamol, not griping water, not a lotion that goes over your body. Those are the symptoms. Then old age, disease, decay, death, being hungry, being cold, fear of losing your loved ones. If you get a call right now or a text right now, your phone vibrates. You pull your phone out of your pocket, and on there is a SMS alert from your alarm system at home. Burglar alert. Will you listen to the sermon from that point forward? No, you will hear it. You aren't going to be listening to it. Why? Now you are suffering from symptoms. The Buddha did not come into this world to teach us how to treat the symptoms. He came into this world to show us, here's the disease. Treat the disease, and then you don't have to worry about the symptoms. Treat the disease and you will never have to worry about the symptoms. I'm not talking about next birth. I'm not talking about previous births or heavens and hells. Forget all of that. You don't have to believe in all of that to be a good Buddhist. That's not what Buddhist philosophy is for. I guarantee you don't have to accept any of that. You can consider it, but you don't have to accept it. Can I prove to you that there are hells? Can I give you an audio-video presentation or send down a telescope down to the center of the earth and show you where the hell is? I don't know, maybe science will do that in future, but not today. So what proof do you have that there's a hell? What proof do you have that there's a heaven? What proof do you have that there's an afterlife? What proof do you have that there's life before this? Science is making advancements. Remember, science is not the truth. Science is not the truth. Science is an effort to get to the truth. That's what science is. It's a journey to find the truth. That's what science is. But science is not the truth. The truth is the truth. It's not science. This is why on the journey to get to the truth, the science might sometimes take a wrong detour. Now, if you have sought refuge in science, you're going to take the same detour. Everything's true until proven false. Everything's true in science until proven false. Every hypothesis is true until proven false. Every law and principle is true until proven false. But the truth is always the truth. So what is the truth? Here's the $1 million question. Because it's a $1 million question, I have to charge you all $1 million. How much did the Buddha charge us for this? How much did the Buddha charge you? You know, recently, during our meditation sessions, our Guru Swami Mahanse, he recites this karmasthana. I think a couple of days ago, when we sat down for meditation, he started to give us this karmasthana. He said, I'll say it in English, but we practice it in Sinhala. He said, monks, think for a moment about your Shastra Mahanse, your master, the Buddha. He asked us, when did the Buddha ever say, come to me walking on red hot embers and I'm going to give you the path to salvation? When did the Buddha say, walk on fire and I will give you the path to salvation? When did the Buddha say, whip yourself with sticks and I will give you the path to salvation? When did the Buddha say that? When did the Buddha say, come and worship me? Come on ye all, worship me and I shall give you the path to salvation. When did the Buddha say that? When did the Buddha ever say, bring me food, bring me medicines, bring me clothes, make me shelter, and I will give you the path to salvation? Knowing fully well that no one can understand this. No one can discover this without his help. Remember, this is the Buddha. He knows that there cannot be another being in 100,000 world systems that has understood this without my instruction. He knows this fully well. And yet, when did he ever say, come worship me? Come crawling to me? Come beg at my feet? And if I decide to do so, I will give you the truth. When did he ever say that? Has the Buddha ever asked you to do that? Beat yourself up? Practice asceticism? Practice rites and rituals like a dog? Practice rites and rituals like a cow? Has the Buddha ever said that? Did he ever say, go and torture your body and I will give you the path to salvation? Did the Buddha ever say that? No. But, so this is what Guru Swami Mahanse said in his Karmasthana. And he was saying, think about the greatness of your teacher, of your master, of the Buddha. How when he realized he's the only one that has the key. You can make copies of this key, yes, but I'm the one who's got the key. You have to come to me to take a copy. Once you've taken a copy, you can then take another copy. But the master key is with me. Knowing fully well that that is the case, he never asked any of us to torture our bodies or go through any of that pain. That's what Guru Swami Mahanse said. I listened to that. Here's what came to my mind. In a lot of other religions, you do have to practice that. You do have to stick hooks onto your body. Painful. You do have to slice your tongue. You have to prick yourself. Take a sesame seed and pull out every hair in your body. You have to walk on fire. You have to starve yourself. You have to go hungry, you have to go thirsty. You have to stand on one leg. You have to stand on your head. in lots of other religions. And then it dawned on me, even in Buddhist philosophy, even in Buddhist teaching, you have to do that. You still have to do that. One still has to walk on fire. One still has to take a sesame seed and pull every hair out of their body. Even in Buddhist philosophy. To understand the Buddhist philosophy. To understand the Four Noble Truths. One has to starve himself. One has to stand on one leg. Not for a month, for many months on. The only difference is, in other religions, they expect you to do that. In the Buddha's dispensation, he did it. He walked on fire. He starved himself. He stood on one leg. He endured extreme asceticism. Using a sesame seed, he pulled out every hair out of his body. He cut his limbs off and gave them away. He pulled his eyes out and gave them away. He cut his ears off and gave them away. He beheaded himself. For our salvation. To give you the path to liberation. In other religions, you have to do that. In Buddhist philosophy, it's the master that does that to himself. Thanks to the Buddha, you will never have to go through that pain again. Countless are the times where you've sought refuge in other teachings, gone after other religious teachers. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of that. But the day you seek refuge in the Buddha, you can put a stop to undergoing physical torture for the purpose of liberation. Because that's not where liberation is. The Buddha did it unto himself so that you don't have to do it to yourself. Do you realize how lucky you are? Do you realize how fortunate you are? When all our lives, madam, we've been treating the symptoms of our diseases and not even for a moment thinking to stop what might be the disease. We might have pondered, but never did we have the courage, the guts to go forth and seek. This is why we needed a Supreme Buddha to come and teach us this. You must realize this, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise you don't realize the value of what you have. Every day I sit in front of the Bodhisattva statue and I look at it. Sometimes for many hours. And I think to myself, if he hadn't done this, I'd have had to go through this again. Do you think I wouldn't have starved myself in samsara? Don't you think you would have done that? To try and seek happiness? Don't you think you would have done that? But today you have the gift of Dhamma, the Buddha's teaching, the Buddha's doctrine, which teaches you, stop treating the symptoms. Treat the disease and the symptoms will look after themselves. So, what is the disease then? This is where we need to come back to. This is where it all starts and this is where it all ends. This is the crux of Buddhist philosophy that I'm just going to talk to you now. So even if you didn't listen to the rest of this sermon, pay attention now. What is the disease? What is the cause of the disease? What is the cessation of this disease? And what is the path to cessation of the disease? This is the Four Noble Truths. Not what are the symptoms, what are the causes of the symptoms, how do you cease the symptoms, and what is the path to ceasing the symptoms. That is not what Buddhist philosophy is. That's there in every religion. That's there in science. What is agriculture there for? To help you treat the disease or the symptom? Symptoms. Science. Agriculture is a gift of science. So what is the disease then? The dukkha that the Buddha speaks of is the product of two things coming together. It's the product of two things coming together. What are these two things is now the question. The world that we all live in. When I speak of the world, how do we know we live in a world? Actually, how do we know we live in a world? Is it not because you can see stuff happening? You can hear things, you can smell, you can taste, and you can touch. Isn't that how you know that there's a world out there? If I were to take away your 5 faculties, would you know about a world? No. So this is how you know that there's a world out there. The nature of the world, ladies and gentlemen, is that it's conditioned. What is it? What is it? Conditioned. Why? Because I say so, right? No. Let's see if it is really conditioned. I told you, don't not just because I say so. Because if you do that, I'm going to teach you something that's false. Just out of spite. No, I'm not going to do that. That would split my head in 7 if I were to sit on this seat. Having sought the Buddha's permission to preach his Dhamma. This is why I worship him before I sit down. I ask for his permission. For me to sit down here and give you anything that is not in accordance with the Buddha's teaching would split my head in 7. So I'm not going to do that, don't worry. But pay attention. This world is conditioned. Not because I say so. Actually, not even because the Buddha said so. Let's take a really simple example. Fire. How do you light a fire? A really, really simple example. How does one light a fire? You look to your left or your right and you go, fire. That's how you light a fire, right? No? How do you light a fire then? How do you light a fire, sir? A box of matches. What else do you need? What was that? Oxygen. What else do you need? Something flammable. You need a box of matches, you need something flammable, and you need oxygen. These are the 3 components that make a fire. Not looking to your left or looking to your right and going, let there be fire. Buddhist philosophy does not believe in a creator. In the sense that you think. But there is a creator. You are the creator of your own world. Ignorance and attachment is the creator of all the worlds. We'll talk about that later someday. I don't want to be too unconventional. That might upset somebody. So, back to our fire. There's something flammable, let's say wood. Now you have oxygen, and now you take a box of matches and you ignite. Now there's a spark, and what happens is temperature of the wood rises. That's how you light a fire, right? How does the fire in the matchstick go to the wood? When you hold the matchstick to the block of wood, its temperature starts to increase. And using oxygen, now a fire has arisen. Because what if the wood was wet? You have a matchstick. Can you light the fire? No, because you don't have enough heat to turn up the temperature. Because these are the three components of a fire, not a matchbox. Temperature, oxygen, and something flammable. Provided these three things have been brought together, who here can stop a fire from arising? Put your hand up if you can. There's wood, there's enough temperature for a fire to ignite, and there's oxygen. Do you dare to try to stop this fire? I challenge you. Can you? No. Can a Buddha stop the fire? Hang on a second. Surely. Can a Buddha stop a fire if there's oxygen, something flammable, and temperature? Can a Buddha stop a fire? No. Because if that were the case, then this world would not be conditioned to a Buddha. If that were the case, you and I won't be here right now. Why? Because he would have changed the world, and you and I would have all become arahants. You can't change the world. We'll come back to that. So, fire again. These three components come together, a fire has arisen. Now, have you seen fires in blocks of flats? Or when they go ablaze? Who likes a fire in a block of flats? Which of the residents in the block likes the fire? Does anyone like the fire? No. So if you don't like the fire, how do you put a fire out? You start chanting, don't you? No, pray to the gods, right? No? What do you do? If you don't like a fire, how would you put out a fire, Pata? Yes. You spray water. What does spraying water do? Yes. Reduces the temperature. Takes away the temperature. Now, the temperature has reduced, and the temperature is insufficient for a fire to be ablaze. Therefore, what happens to the fire? Extinguish. Now, I have a question for you. Did the fire arise because I wanted it to? Has the fire now been extinguished because I didn't want it to? Or because I wanted to extinguish it? Yes, you might have gone and chucked water at it. But if you hadn't thrown the water at it, just standing by and wishing for it to be extinguished, will the fire go out? No. So what does that say to us about a fire? Is it to our liking, or is it conditioned? It's conditioned.